All right, let me get all set up here. This is my second try at this. The little stand here that I've purchased is saying it's overheating. I'm directly in the sun, that's probably why, but I'll try and get out as much as I can. We were talking about Mother's Day and the essentially commercialization of the holiday. Obviously, like most holidays in the West, it is not what it once was designed to be, and so we find ourselves spending a lot of money on these particular holidays. But let's talk about the recognition that is Mother's Day, or what it's become, and that is appreciation, gratefulness, or what have you, for the woman that birthed you. All right, and so how is your relationship with the woman that birthed you? How is your relationship? Do you have a healthy relationship? Healthy being meaning that you have a regular routine, a regular relationship. You're talking on the phone. You're not always fighting. You're not always arguing, and generally, genuinely care for each other and enjoy each other's company and miss each other and all that kind of thing, right? I contend that probably most of us don't. Most of us don't have that type of relationship. And I contend that, like every other type of relationship, when expectations are involved in it, when there's a sense of you owe me, it ruins and damages relationships. Specifically, familial relationships and definitely intimate relationships between a man and a woman, etc., etc. All right, when those expectations are lodged against you, when there's a sense of I owe you, because I've done for you in the past, and from the mother's standpoint, I birthed you, I brought you into this world, and now you owe me a debt of gratitude, etc., etc. And while no mother is going to necessarily say that, some do, but while no mother is necessarily going to say that, it's implied and inferred, and we know that. So being honest with ourselves, the relationship is essentially that of a debtor and a creditor. And nobody likes to be in debt. Nobody does. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't have a very good relationship with my mother, okay? We hardly talk, and when we do, more times than not, it ends in some kind of a disagreement to the point and to the extreme that it's like, well, we don't need to talk anymore, that type of thing. And shock to some people out there, I'm sure. But that's what our relationship has been. And sometimes those type of relationships become a norm, okay, and a very unhealthy norm, all right? And so I can recognize, and I do realize that. Being raised by a mother, a single parent, there are certain values, there are certain things that are important in the psyche of a young man. So I'll speak to that for a second from my personal experience. And those things are lost, or are there is a deprivation of those qualities that young men need. I'm not saying that mom in some ways cannot address other important basic vital needs. That's not what my claim is, or my assertion. My claim and assertion talks specifically to the needs of a young man. All right, strength, brevity, confidence, ego, all of those things. Now, a woman is not going to be able to necessarily understand that. They may not even appreciate that. Okay, more times than not, where I come from, the women that are raising boys and girls alike are a bit slighted. They're a bit injured by their relationships, and some are not able to make that distinction. All right, and take regard to the effect that their anger or their animosity towards the father of their child has on their child, because they're living in the moment and they're very much affected themselves. I get it, but that nonetheless still has an effect, a very negative effect, I might add, on especially the son. there's a bit of an imbalance naturally, right? I know that moms want to be all of that and a bag of chips to their children. I get it. My oldest daughter's mother has taught me that in the spades, for sure. All right, so don't strike at her motherhood. Don't make her feel incompetent in any way in her motherhood. She's done it by herself for this long with her other children, so therefore, she knows what she's doing in all things today. I get it. And I'll just say that in the future, today and in the future, it's not going to get much better. Sorry for that, or I'm not sorry. Men, it's not going to get much better as there are fewer and fewer, I'll say, men, especially decent men, good men, who are hardworking, have values, and legitimately want to settle down, I'll say, with one woman, etc., etc. Because I don't know if you know, but 10, 15 years ago, I remember seeing a statistic, an alarming statistic, that was saying that there are like 15 to 20 women to one man. Now, I don't know if that holds true today. It may be way worse. I mean, think of all the young men under 40 who, find themselves subjected to things like child support. So they're in and out of jail, in and out of prison, on and off of parole, probation. Now they may have a felony or whatever. They find it hard to get a job. Then you got COVID-19 and Corona and all that kind of thing that struck at the heart of the economy. So the job market's not robust and strong as it may be perpetrated that it is. So my point is that I feel for the women in today because it's going to be very slim pickings, and it's only going to get worse as the days, the months, the years go by. And so I get that the women feel that they have to step up and become, as my oldest daughter's mother says, that she has become both dad and mom, or she is able to fill the shoes of both. But that is holistically, comprehensively false. I'll just state that. My mother could never fill the role of the man that I had never known, that was never really a part of my life. Now, there was a filler man. There was a filler man who played the role, and for 40-something years we thought was my father, but we found out lately that he's not. And so, with that being said, just airing out all my dirty laundry. But for a good cause. I mean, these are conversations that we don't want to have, but that we need to have. All right. If we really want to stop the decay, in our societies, if we want to really understand the plight of young men, especially young men that look like me, then we need to have these conversations. And somebody has to not be afraid to have these conversations, to say those things that people really don't want to say. All right, that's the only way we're going to get change, to borrow a term. Okay, and so I found my dad, my biological dad, on an Ancestry.com type of situation. Yes, they do work. Yes, they do. And so it's it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle because having an identity. And that's one thing that is lost in having a single mother home, is the identity. How do you identify? How does a young man identify as a young man coming of age if you only have a mother? How do you identify with that? You might see your mom go through things that you want as a young man to fix. You become that provider in a sort of way. You become that protector. Nobody can get to mom. Nobody can hurt mom. I'm not going to let, that type of deal. But I contend from personal experience that also instituted a type of resentment. I suffered a lot. In watching, various gentlemen, I use that term loosely, as they state, would come into the house and try to establish a kingdom on top of mom's queendom, and subsequently ending in some type of disrespect, where then I would jump in as a young boy and try to play the Captain Sava, and so that was the relationship. But let me just tell you, mothers, single mothers out there with boys especially, that when we have to do that, when we feel like we have to protect mom from such a young age and all that, and then after doing so, we also deal with the discipline that is distributed from mom, or mom spanks us or grounds us or whatever. You must understand that we look at that like, after all I've done for you, the same way that the mom, the mantra of mom, basically that's a good book title, right? The mantra of mom. How you would feel, if your son or daughter does something that you had asked them not to do, and then you repeat or reverberate that saying, that mantra. After all I've done for you, I've worked hard for you, I've been doing this by myself, I pay the bills, I feed you, and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's no different for, in its own right, it's no different from how we feel as young men, being expected to be the protectors of our mothers and not having a father figure around. We take that place, as we age and grow up, only to be punished or grounded, smacked around, from the frustration that mom might be feeling from not being able to met out the bills, or to find someone that she can find solace in or be with, or that will respect her, and she takes that negative energy out on her child or son or daughter. And so again, we're as a young man, protecting mom, being there for mom, being the strength in the house and all that kind of thing, and only to be disciplined by that same mother. It does something to the psyche. It does something to the morale. Okay, and I almost can't explain it. I could only open myself up to demonstrate or show, but it's very difficult to explain those emotions, those feelings that go, and those thoughts that went through my mind. But I assure you, ladies, those emotions are very much real. And a lot of times I'm hearing these psychologists and what have you are saying, talking about the real, the reality of what a child is, in as far as how you treat them. They're little people, they have their own, they're just in their own sphere of influence, and they're in their own understanding. They're looking at things from their perspective as a young child, and they have their own world. They have their own social strategies and what have you that we don't understand. We lost the simplicity and the innocence of existence in life. As we age, we take on more and more injuries and layers of hurt and callousness and what have you. And we've learned to just deal with it. And, just like a callus or whatever, you still have the skin underneath, or the fresh flesh underneath. However, you've built up layers and layers of toughness. And that is there, okay, for mom, for dad, and for children. That's still there. There's still a meaty me underneath there. There's still a sensitive me with nerve fibers, nerve endings, and sensory organs and all that kind of stuff. It's all under there. But after 47 years of living, of not having a father around, a man figure, and having mom be the dominator over me, and at the same time being expected to be a man, to keep the house together, to do the heavy lifting, to protect, have no fear, be brave, etc., etc. You understand where hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down. Just expressing some things that today we can think about. With the age of technology, I can record this, I can send this out on YouTube and Facebook, in hopes that that mothers out there can get something from this. But this is real. We're talking about Mother's Day, okay? And there's a very broken matter here. I don't know what another term. A relationship issue. There's a very broken reality when it comes to young men, especially young black men, and the single mother homes. It's very broken. And I mean, that's just one aspect. There are so many other aspects of criminality, having multiple relationships, having multiple children with different relationships, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole lot of different facets to this, but I would speak to the foundational issues, the rearing of young men by mom. Okay, is that natural? Is that natural? Not considering, not intending to strike at the competence per se issue of a mother, just considering holistically the effectivity, the potential harm to a young man from the rearing, by a single mother household. Again, I'm not speaking to her ability per se, like, she's incompetent. I'm just saying, let's consider these things. Let's have this discussion, in hopes that, we can stave off future issues. Again, I can admit, my relationship even today is not per se good. It's not healthy with my own mother. No matter how much I want it to be. But I'll just tell you, my mom, has been a pastor for many years, has been an evangelist for other years, and has been a missionary, has done all these things in church. That is her focus. That is her brainchild, her love. And, for a young man growing up, struggling with cultural issues, I'll just say, struggling with identity issues and what have you, to take a second place or back seat to an ethereal observation, that being Christianity, a belief in God and a Savior, etc., but at the same time, knowing the backstory. In that, let me just explain. What must it say? And do what you're gonna do. I'm just keeping it real with you, okay? These are things you can either... Little spider on my toe. These are things you can either consider and do something about, or not consider and scroll on and do what you're gonna do. All right? But I'm just speaking from the heart. This is Mother's Day, or the observation thereof, and I'm just sharing some things that from the mind, the soul of a young black man, as they call it, in the United States, raised by a single parent, mother. All right, and so Christianity, to me, watching from birth, right? I was born into this thing. I'm 47 now. My mom was the first one in church. A bit of an exaggeration, but this is what it appeared. First one in church, drove the longest to get to church, 25 miles each way. And that didn't matter. The weather, not barred by weather. It could be 3 feet of snow. A bit of exaggeration, but that's what it appeared. And we could be on E or close to E. She's going to make it to church. First to put the money in the offering basket, to tithe religiously. But so we can keep going on that, or I think you get it. And so, but when we went home, we were going to a predominantly white church. Let me just say it. I'm gonna just be honest. A white church 25 miles away from the hood, out in the suburbs. We were driving miles and miles, and there's nothing but cornfields. All you're seeing is cornfields until we get to the church. And so, these were wealthy folks. At least, growing up in the, late 70s, early 80s, at least they were well off in comparison to where I came from. And so we would go out there Sundays, Wednesdays, and that, not to mention the times that she would go out there to clean the bathrooms, to volunteer, and all that kind of thing. But think about, from my perspective, from the perspective of a young black male, only a mother, and then coming out to the suburbs where they have the two-parent homes. They both working, or mom's a stay-at-home mom and dad is at work for them in the suburbs. And to grow up in that environment all your life, I'm still alive now, but at least as of this taping. But to deal with that, and then, I can remember trying to act out like these children acted out towards their parents and whatever. And I can remember mom saying, you don't act like them. You know what I'm saying? Basically, you don't disrespect me, you don't talk back, you don't do these things. You've heard those conversations. And, so I could be amongst them, and not necessarily accepted by them. I was one of the only blacks in the school and church. But I could be among them. I can dress in the uniform like them, but I couldn't act like them. And my home was not like their home. They had nice stuff, nice furniture, whatever. We were struggling to keep the lights on, which brings me to my point. Mom would religiously pay tithes. She would religiously donate to the church. She would donate not only money, but her time. And she would give away things that she did not have. Nobody else at the church understood that or respected that. But I knew, because I lived with my mom. I know times that her lights were off. And then after, paying her tithes and putting in good faith money or whatever to the church, she'd come home, or whatever, and the lights are off. And now she's praying to the same God that she just donated her money to help put the lights on, or to send money to turn the lights back on. Does that make sense? How does that make sense? Make it make sense. And so these are, my point is, in closing, it's 22 minutes. My point in closing is, I grew up as a young black male in poverty, in the middle of the hood, with all of the things that come along with that. All right, the fears, the gunshots, all that kind of thing, right? I grew up with that. And I'm taught by a mother that God will do this. This is why we go to church. This is why I drive 20, 25 miles. This is why I put you in a Christian school. This is why I do what I do. But it puts me in the mind of respectfully, a pimp. A pimp and his, what do you call it? Hose? Because, the pimp is going to sell, ice to an Eskimo, sell the dream, and force you to believe it. And if you don't believe it, it might get you hooked on some dope or something, so that now you have this addiction, and you know where you got to come to get it, to get your fix. All right. And that's it's the best analogy I can come up with immediately, because that's what I feel like I watched happen to my mother in the name of religion. And so, again, imagine being in my situation, and many of you have been in the same situation, where mom is religious. I mean, she is giving her all, unapologetically giving her all to the church, and you're going without. And you're told you're among them, but you can't be like them. Meaning, the affluent, the wealthy, the white, as it were. But you can't do what they do. You're different. All right. I'm not their mom. I'm your mom, and you will respect me, etc., etc. And also struggle financially. Not have the things that you would like. Holes in the pants, patches on the pants. You can't wear the shoes that you see the other kids wearing, because you quite frankly don't have the money. And all other things, on welfare, going down to the government building, etc., etc. Being embarrassed by food stamps, and then being told, well, this is how we eat. Why are you embarrassed of it? You want to eat, this is what we use. All that it was tough. It was what they call tough love, right? Mom was just being strong and whatever like that. But there is a real, ladies, hear me, there is a real effect, especially on young men, and especially on young black men. There is a real negative effect. You may think that, that it is instilling in them strength, but really what it is doing is building callousness. Okay? And I contend that there's a difference between strength and callousness, insensitivity. Okay? And so this is what you're seeing out in these streets now. The ones that are getting gunned down by police officers, that are mad at the world, that they've been trying to be heard all of their life. They've been trying to tell their school teachers, they've been trying to tell the pastor, they've been trying to tell, the neighbors, they've been trying to tell the police, they've been trying to tell the judge, who the judge is just up there doing their job. The judge is not being sensitive themselves to the situation because they have law to follow, law to not enforce, but to interpret. It's not open for interpretation, you know what I'm saying? For their own interpretation, they got to interpret in accordance with the law. And so that's not the right time to explain, the type of upbringing you've had, and why you may have acted out that way. Trying to explain to a school psychologist who is, again, just doing their job. You see? So I guess I would dub this callousness over toughness. Okay? Because I contend once again that is essentially what is happening. Callousness in the name of toughness. And so on this Mother's Day, I only mean to get you to reflect, as I do most of my uploads. I just want you to reflect, and this is a rather long one. I usually try to stay about 15 minutes. But just consider these things. Mothers that are just starting off and you have a single home. So what is the answer here? What is the answer? Well, I would say, if anything, consider the distinction between callousness and toughness. There needs to be, some type of male influence. I would say in closing, make sure that you don't take the occasion to allow your anger at the father of your child to categorize all males in your life as the same. Okay? You'd be doing your son a great disservice. I'm trying to think of the best way to put it for you to help you out, not just to elevate an issue, but to also, what is the fix here? What is the situation? So don't, you and basically voicing your anger or demonstrating your anger towards men because of one man and his flaws or whatever, especially in the face of the son, is doing much damage. Remember, your son has to have an identity. Now, if I could go back and talk to my mother and tell her what is very necessary, if I could look at the little me, in closing, if I can look at the little me and look at my mom in a particular situation, okay, I would tell her, just listen to him. Just listen to him. I would tell her, no, God is not going to fix that. Not a God outside of him, and not a God outside of you. That's what I would tell her. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If you don't get involved, if you don't help him culture and build an identity, then you will lose him. In one way or another. He's still going to protect you. If I got a phone call right now, I'd run down wherever she's at and protect her. But we don't have a relationship. You're so, what they say, heavenly minded. She was so heavenly minded that she's no earthly good, right? She couldn't attach. She couldn't get me. Okay? And that leads to woman issues for me down the road. I've suffered a lot of that. You know, woman issues. It's something when you feel dominated by a woman, but you're expected to be dominant, a strong male, right? Really, we're just calloused males, you know, that grow up to disrespect women and what have you. You know, we don't understand the pecking order. We don't understand healthy relations and all that kind of thing. That has to be, I contend, taught in tandem with an identity, personality and character traits and what have you. All that has to be simultaneously learned as you're being brought up. Okay? Otherwise, you'll be a fragmented man. And you'll raise a fragmented man. All right. 30 minutes. Well over my time. But if this at least gets you to think, then it serves its purpose. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. And I contend that you can make it a much more happy experience, joyful experience in the future if you would just listen. Just listen. Be a mother, but listen. If you got to do it by yourself, listen. Listen to your son. Don't teach him to be callous while trying to culture strengthen him. Listen to him. Listen to him. God is not going to do what he needs you to do right now in his life. I guess that's the best way I can put it. All right? Strength over callousness, or callousness or for strength, or strength. All right? Hopefully this helps you. Thank you for tuning in. I try to post things like this to make you think on a regular basis. And this is, from real world experiences, real life application. All right? So if you got a comment or something like that you want to share, please put it in the comment section. If you disagree, that's fine too. Put it in the comment section. We can have a discussion. It's time to have these discussions. I would like to have a discussion on the sex issue, gender issue. I would like to have discussions on child support, all of those type of issues. And if we don't start talking this stuff out and just keep letting the government establish programs and all this kind of stuff, we're just giving away our influence, the power of the people. All right, so we better start having these discussions, otherwise our culture is slipping away. All right, with that being said, make it a great day. Peace.